Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you are watching The Big 10, the show that brings you the big stories, or rather the stories that have made headlines across the week. So let the countdown continue. So on Wednesday, a Senate ad hoc committee that is looking into the government's listing of medical equipment questioned why fees for the equipment were hiked from 95 million shillings per county every year to 200 million shillings. Now, the committee, which was questioning the Cabinet Secretary for Health, Cicely Kariuki, for a second time, also sought to know the criteria by which the Ministry of Health is paying, or the deed on an equal amount for the managed medical equipment services for all the counties, despite the variances in the equipment being supplied across the counties. CS Cicely Kariuki was also put to task on a payment of over 3 billion shillings paid for a contract that was cancelled. So let's listen in on what transpired during that particular session.
For example, an operating theatre lamp would cost 120,000 shillings on the market. In this list equipment, it is costing 4.5 million. A spotlight, a torch, Madam Minister, that would cost on our market 1,900 Kenya shillings. And I've checked hospitals, these are the same torches they use with dry batteries. Some use chargeable batteries. In your supplies, a torch of 1.9 thousand shillings, you are charging 1,447,000 in this document. There is a lot of exaggerated pricing of equipment that the Kenyan taxpayer is paying for. Nobody is questioning what you have said and somebody else said, value for life. The equipment may be saving lives and we want it to save lives, but the value for money is not there. Did your ministry carry out a market survey on all this equipment? And ministers, you come to answer, you will also tell this committee the rationale of leasing a drip stand, a torch, a linen trolley, a patient trolley. These are things that are regularly and easily available on the Kenyan market.
And my team has also undertaken a comparison in terms of market outright purchase against lease, with an indication of what has been availed to me is looking at it not from an isolated component like our Tangle has done, but as a package. So Chairperson, the report which I have, my team has gone back and interrogated the issues raised on Thursday, still confirms value for money in addition to value for life.
And that she is saying that there is value for money in leasing a drip stand at 1.2 million Kenya shillings. And that chair that she is telling this committee and this country that to the extent that counties are not paying this money, it is okay, we should not ask questions.
Still in Parliament, the government was hard-pressed to explain why the cost of power remains high despite the increased investment in renewable sources of electricity such as geothermal energy. In a grilling by the Senate Committee on Energy, the Ministry of Energy was also questioned on the cause of the frequent power outages in most parts of the country and whether the power outages are being caused by substandard or defective transformers. However, the Cabinet Secretary for Energy, Charles Qatar, failed to turn up for the grilling and was represented by the Ministry or Chief Administrative Secretary Samuel Kachupin.
As to regard to the tokens, wananchi have been complaining a lot that you people, you sell somebody a token of 50 shillings, instead of it lasting the person the time that he expects to last, it lasts maybe nearly about a half or two-thirds of the time. And the total billing system with the Kenya Power has been indicating inflated bills. We would wish to know, last time we met with the CS and the PS, we agreed that they would put measures.
What brings these high bills? Likewise, those ones who are using boreholes, like in our county where you are supposed to use a borehole, within a short time, you have brought a bill of 300,000.
Energy Regulatory Commission, the IBRA, have come with some measures which is aimed at helping especially manufacturers and also the common mwananchi. One chair, they have piloted what we call the time of use tariff from 1st December 2017 up to end of July last year, where the industrial customers got discounted electricity tariffs up to 50% of energy charge rates during off-peak hours. What has been done is what we call the lifeline tariff for domestic customers, which has been expanded from a maximum consumption of 50.
Crossing over to the telco space, the Communications Authority of Kenya is set to give the go-ahead for Telcom Kenya and Airtel Kenya to merge their mobile telephony businesses. The authority's acting Director General, Marcy Wanjawa, has confirmed that the regulator has formally received a report from the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to clear the transaction. Now, the confirmation came a day after Telcom Kenya CEO Mugo Kibati indicated that the merger will be closed by the end of the year. And last week, the ESCC said it could not investigate Telcom's privatization and or rather how it was conducted, because Telcom is a private company that cannot be subjected to the State Corporations Act. The probe was instituted by the National Assembly, which sought to know how the government's interests in the Telcom would be protected after a merger. The government of Kenya has a 40% stake in the Telcom Kenya.
Issue on the Airtel Telcom merger, indeed this has been lifted. We have been formally notified and we are driving towards compliance.
All right, so to clarify matters in the world of telecommunications, with me in studio is Alex Owiti, the Managing Director and founder of Alexander PR and Communications Network. A very good evening to you, Alex. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Alex, I'd like us to start with, what are your sentiments when it comes to the Telcom-Airtel merger?
I would echo the same sentiments that are coming from the different quarters, that this merger is a good thing for the industry. And especially the perception that has been there is that Safaricom has always been looked at as the bigger boy, the big or the dominant player in this sector. So this merger brings in a sort of like an equilibrium into the ecosystem, and sort of try to give alternative in the telecommunication sector.
Why has it gained so much attention? Rather, why has it attracted so much attention? When you look at the latest CAK report, or the Communication Authority report, in terms of the statistics, you realize that Safaricom controls about 62% of the market share. And when you look at this particular merger, if Telcom and Airtel come together, they'll be controlling around 33% of the market share. And this will translate to around 14 million subscribers, which is actually a huge or a significant move, if you like. So therefore, this particular move, actually, what I would like to say, it destabilizes sort of that dominance effect that has been looked at from a dominant player like Safaricom. So you're seeing it definitely posing some sort of competition to Safaricom? Definitely
the competition will definitely come in. When you look at 14 million subscribers combined from Airtel and Telcom Kenya, that is quite a significant market share for that matter. Therefore, this particular merger will definitely bring in competition to the market.
All right.
Yes.
Now, I'd like us to quickly move on. There's a lot that is going on, or rather, there's a lot that has been going on in the telecommunications world. So let our countdown continue. Okay, so there was a lot going on this week in Kenya's telco space. Kenya's biggest telco by market share, Safaricom, turned 19 this week with a fresh commitment to its 33 million subscribers and a new strategy for its business. As a part of that change, Kenya's biggest telco by market share introduced data bundles, calls and SMS packages with no expiry date. Safaricom's change of the tack came against the backdrop of a court case pushing for an end to the expiry of data bundles. Let's take a look.
Simple, transparent and honest. That's the new corporate motto that Safaricom is committing itself to as it turns 19. According to Michael Joseph, the Telco's CEO, the 19th birthday celebration is a chance at a clean slate for the company, which has been perceived to be more interested in making profits at the expense of the customer.
We wanted to look back and see how Safaricom was thought, how our customers thought about us. And we've been receiving many times surveys, customer surveys, what we call NPS, Net Promoter Score, saying that Safaricom is not regarded as the most trustworthy company. So I thought this is the time for us to say, let's look back, let's start with a clean sheet of paper.
To create a shift in mindset, Michael says that Safaricom will now be more customer-centric in how it conducts its business going forward with its 33 million plus customers.
That you can go into our shop and you'll be served within 5 minutes. And everybody will, you don't have to stand in a queue, you don't have to stand at a counter, somebody will deal with you right when you walk into the shop. And our commitment and our promise is we'll deal with you within 5 minutes. If you call our call center, Janet is here, I know she made this promise, hopefully you'll do this, but if you call our call center, we'll answer your call within 5 minutes, and we will deal with you in 5 minutes.
Among the major changes Safaricom has made is the introduction of data, voice, and SMS bundles without an expiry date. As a permanent proposition, customers purchasing the new call and SMS plans on *544# will get 50% extra talk time with every purchase, enabling them to talk more for less.
For whatever money you want to spend on data, from 1 shilling to 1,000 or whatever it means, you can buy data for as much money as you want. It's not preset. If you want to buy data for 1 shilling, you can buy data for 1 shilling. And most importantly, it will not expire. Similarly, on voice, you can buy voice for whatever money you want to spend on voice. You can buy 5 shillings, 12 shillings or whatever. And if whatever you buy, you'll get 50% more automatically.
The decision by Safaricom to eliminate the expiration date on its data, voice, and SMS bundles comes hot on the heels of a lawsuit filed by lawyer and ICT practitioner Adrian Kamotho. Kamotho sued Safaricom, Airtel, Telcom Kenya, and the Communications Authority of Kenya, seeking to compel the telcos to offer a service where subscribers can roll over unused data at no cost. Safaricom CEO Michael Joseph has, however, dismissed claims that the move to introduce expiry-free packages is in reaction to the lawsuit.
You may have read about in the newspapers yesterday some lawyer was going to sue us. It's got nothing to do with that because we started this journey, as we say, 3 weeks ago.
Starting 1st November 2019, new customers joining the network will get SIM cards for free at Safaricom shops and dealer outlets, upon which a customer will top up 50 shillings airtime to activate their line. Customers will also have the freedom to choose a number of their choice when they purchase a new line. Ingrid Nantege, Metropol TV.
All right, so first things first, Alex, kindly expound on the no expiry date on data, because we saw Ghana come out with the rule just a few weeks or a few days ago. Yes. And lawyer Adrian Kamotho filed a suit against the telco companies on the same matter. Yes. Did Safaricom's move to introduce bundles without expiry remove the sting from the court case? But let's start by you expounding on no expiry date on data.
So usually you would buy whatever data. Let's say you're buying maybe 500 shillings will get you 1 GB. And then you'll have maybe probably a date for it. Maybe let's say it will expire by end of maybe December 31st. So what usually happens is that one would buy the data, and then they would use it, and then probably they did not finish the data bundles by 31st of December. And at that particular time, the data expires. It doesn't roll over to the
1st of January.
Yeah, to the 1st of January. That is actually the basic scenario, or how I would describe it. But now the situation would be is that you would just continue using your data until, even if the expiry date was 31st, you would continue until it finishes. Because the challenge has actually been that you buy your data, it expires before you use it, because we have different behavior in terms of using data. And sometimes one would buy for a day. Let's say you'd buy the Safaricom has a data bundle for a day.
Yes, the daily bundles.
The daily bundles.
Yeah.
And you'd realize that once 24 hours has elapsed, you cannot continue using that data. So this particular move by Safaricom, I would call it a very strategic move for its customers, and that they will continue enjoying their data bundles without that expiry.
All right.
That's being in effect.
All right.
Right.
So let's move on swiftly onto our top story. All right, so in more news from Safaricom, Peter Ndegwa has been appointed Safaricom's new Chief Executive Officer. His appointment marks a first for the telco, as he is the first indigenous Kenyan to head the company, which is 40% owned by Vodafone PLC. In a statement released by Safaricom's chairman, Nicholas Nganga, Peter Ndegwa, who is currently the managing director of Diageo Continental Europe, will take over as Safaricom's CEO on the 1st of April 2020. Ndegwa takes over from Michael Joseph, who has been serving as the interim CEO since the demise of Safaricom's CEO Bob Collymore in July this year.
The search for a new Safaricom Chief Executive Officer has been ongoing for nearly a year now, having begun with the late Safaricom CEO Bob Collymore's intention to step down after he was diagnosed with cancer. Safaricom's board of directors, however, opted to extend his contract to not only compensate for time he spent in England to undergo treatment, but also begin the search for his replacement. But as fate could have it, Collymore did not get to serve the full extension of his tenure, as he succumbed to acute myeloid leukemia in July this year. And it's probably then that the search for a new and suitable leader for Safaricom began in earnest. Michael Joseph, who led Safaricom between 2000 and 2010, was then appointed the interim CEO. Today, close to 3 months after the demise of Bob, and just one day after the company marked its 19th birthday, the board has finally announced Peter Ndegwa as Safaricom's new CEO. In a statement, Safaricom's board chairman Nicholas Nganga has said the decision to hire Ndegwa is premised on his wealth of experience in general management, commercial and business strategy, sales and finance operations, having spent over 25 years in various roles within the financial services and fast-moving consumer goods sectors in Africa and Europe. Peter Ndegwa, who will officially take over in April 2020, is now the first indigenous Kenyan to lead Safaricom, in an appointment that is perhaps the result of pressure from the government of Kenya, which owns 35% of Safaricom.
The issue of succession is a matter that the board is very much alive to. It is a continuing process that we keep revising at the board, and really, when the time comes for us to deal with that issue, we shall deal with it through the normal, robust system and strategy of looking for the best person to run the company. And we are still in the process.
Ndegwa's appointment comes hot on the heels of Safaricom's rollout of a new business strategy that was launched Wednesday as it marked its 19th year in business. It's against this backdrop that Safaricom's chairman has said, and I quote, "We're confident that Peter will carry on our vision of transforming lives while keeping us focused on meeting our customers' needs and holding us to our new commitment of being simple, transparent, and honest," end quote. Ndegwa joined Safaricom from Diageo Continental Europe, where he served as the managing director. In his current role, Peter oversees the operations of Diageo plc in 50 countries in Western and Eastern Europe, Russia, Middle East, and North Africa region. Ingrid Nantege, Metropol TV.
So just who is Peter Ndegwa? Allow us to break it down for you. Now, Peter Ndegwa is an alumnus of Starehe Boys Center and the University of Nairobi. Is an experienced corporate executive who has spent over 25 years in various roles within the financial services and fast-moving consumer goods sectors in Africa and Europe. He began his career at PricewaterhouseCoopers, where he worked for 11 years, relocating to London, UK, where he was under the firm's talent development program in 1996. Now, in 1999, he transitioned from the accountancy practice to the consulting and corporate finance unit at PwC. Peter took on key assignments in corporate advisory and project management at leading European and American banks and insurance businesses. Peter, who holds an MBA from the London School of Business, returned to Nairobi in 2002, where he worked on several significant corporate advisory assignments, mostly in financial services sector. In 2004, Peter joined the East African Breweries as strategy director, and in this role, he led the NSE-listed beer manufacturer in shaping a 5-year strategy. This included the development of an affordable beer strategy, which saw the creation of Senator Keg. Senator Keg has gone on to become one of Kenya's and Diageo's most iconic beer brands. Peter served for 8 years across a range of senior executive director roles at EABL, serving as the Group Chief Finance Officer, Group Strategy Director, Sales Director, and as an Executive Director on the EABL board. During that period, Peter also led significant business development agenda, including the acquisition of Serengeti Breweries Limited, a major subsidiary in Tanzania, and unwound a complex shareholding structure with SAB Miller, now ABI, in both Kenya and Tanzania. He left EABL in 2011, starting an 8-year sojourn away from home to Diageo subsidiaries Guinness Ghana Breweries PLC and Guinness Nigeria PLC, both of which he led as CEO. He is set to join Safaricom and Diageo PLC, where he is the managing director of Diageo Continental Europe. In his current role, Peter oversees the operations of Diageo plc in 50 countries in Western and Eastern Europe, Russia, Middle East, and North Africa region. Following the appointment as CEO of Safaricom plc, Peter once again returns home to Nairobi. Peter is married with 1 child. All right, Alex, so it's such an impressive CV, isn't it? Question is, what would you say is on the entry for Safaricom CEO designate Peter Ndegwa?
First of all, I would like to say that Safaricom has really chosen someone who is has wealth of experience and also well-read, for that matter, if you look at his resume. But looking at the history of Safaricom and having interacted with the first 2 CEOs of Safaricom, is that when you look at Michael has a different way of as a different management style. He's a serious chap. He's an engineer, a techie. And what was very interesting is when now we had Bob Kolibo coming in, who was not a techie, was not a technical person in that matter. Very, very amiable, very social, you know, for that kind of matter. And when you look at those 2 transitions, you'll see the different management styles of these 2 individuals and how the business has changed. Now, when Peter is coming in, when the rubber meets the road, I think for me, the biggest thing is to fit into Bob Kolibo's shoes, which of course, Bob created a very amiable environment for his employees, which of course they say that your employees first. Therefore, I'm foreseeing a situation whereby he needs to continue with that legacy of having, creating a very conducive environment for the employees, what they were used to when Bob was still alive. The second thing is in terms of innovation. We've seen a situation whereby we've been told Peter Ndegwa was a very innovative person. He brought into the market Senator Keg. And now when you look at alcohol business, which is more of a consumer business, and you come into a techie company that is evolving very fast, innovatively, you realize that he needs to now come in with a different strategy. There's the share of wallet, of course. He was competing with Safaricom in one way or the other. So how is he going to maintain a competitive edge for Safaricom, especially from a share wallet perspective? Is one going to drink or one going to buy airtime? Is one going to buy food or are they going to buy data? So this kind of strategy is coming in. And then looking at Safaricom not only as a voice or a data company, it's a technology company in itself. So you realize that the innovativeness in terms of businesses, in terms of corporate, what kind of solution is it going to come with? Especially when we're looking at the big data, we're looking at Internet of Things, we're looking at artificial intelligence, all these kind of things, cloud technology, and how it's going to fit into the business. So for me, he has a bigger task. He's coming in when Bob has left a good legacy, that the company is very profitable, it's performing very well. If you look at the market valuation for Safaricom right now at the Nairobi Stock Exchange, it's actually half of the total market valuation for Nairobi Stock Exchange. So for me, Peter has a bigger task, but I feel he is the man who was chosen for the job and the board believes in him. And I think Kenyans should give him a benefit of doubt. Let him do his job. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, so it's a wait and see for all of us. But of course, we wish him all the best.
We wish him all the best.
All right.
Yes.
So, and lastly, what else? I mean, now they have a new CEO that they're appointing who's going to take office in 2020, April. There's the no expiry date on the data.
Right.
A lot is going on with Safaricom. So what else should it prioritize in its new ways with its customers?
I think Safaricom has been actually ahead of the game in terms of listening to its customers. But then what I'm thinking is in for him is especially listening to this diverse customer group that is there currently. We're having millennials. The way millennials are actually currently consuming information, the way they are consuming their data, the way they want to move voice to over-the-top platforms. Or you realize when you look at Safaricom's numbers, you realize that the voice has declined in terms of numbers. It has moved to WhatsApp, Facebook. People are making calls over Facebook. People are making calls over WhatsApp. So all these changes, the dynamism that is happening within the tech space, how is he going to fit in his strategy to make sure that he remains relevant and competitive within the business?
And on top of that, Telcom and Airtel are also
on the game. So he has his work cut out for him.
Wow. Right. All right, please, I'm calling you Peter. One day we'll all get there. I'm sorry, Alex. So we have run out of time. Thank you so much for making time to join us on The Big Ten. And that's it for this episode of The Big Ten this week. My name is Nina Shaban. Please do enjoy your weekend.